I was supposed to become the cruel stepmother who destroyed 3 children and died at their hands. So why did they start looking at me like I was their entire world? I forced them to clean their own messes. I yelled at them to sleep on time. I punished them by making them study. Apparently that counted as parenting. And when I finally completed my mission and died, my husband and children nearly destroyed the world trying to bring me back. The first thing Elliot Vale saw after dying was a chandelier. The second thing he saw was a child standing beside the bed, holding a vase like he was debating whether murder was acceptable before breakfast. Elliot blinked. The child blinked back. Then a mechanical voice exploded inside his head. "Welcome, host. You have successfully transmigrated into the premium Omegaverse tragedy novel, The Blood Crown Heirs." Elliot groaned. "Put me back." Request denied, Heartsuit. The boy with silver-black hair narrowed his eyes. "Father said Omegas cry after suppressants. But you're talking to the ceiling. How old are you?" Elliot asked weakly. 10. Too young for murder. Put the vase down. The child slowly lowered it. A screen flashed before Elliot's eyes. Character, Lucian Hartwell. Role, vicious stepmother. Ending, murdered by stepchildren. Main tasks. Maintain cruel persona, increase future villain dark points, prevent attachment to host, survive until task completion. Reward, return to original world. Elliot stared at the words. Murdered by who? The system cheerfully displayed 3 tiny chibi figures holding knives. Your adorable future killers. Fantastic. The bedroom door suddenly opened. A tall alpha stepped inside. Sharp black suit. Cold gray eyes. The kind of face that belonged on billion-dollar magazine covers and criminal investigation boards. Cedric Hartwell. The husband. The man who ignored both his wife and children until the entire family collapsed into emotional ruin. Cedric glanced once at Elliot before speaking to the boy. Aiden. Breakfast. The child stiffened immediately and left. Not a single goodbye. Not a smile. The room felt colder after he left. Cedric adjusted his cuffs. You fainted yesterday. Elliot carefully copied the memories floating in his head. Lucian Hartwell. A spoiled Omega from a noble family forced into an arranged marriage. Cruel. Bitter. Violently jealous of Cedric's dead first spouse. The perfect future stepmonster. Elliot looked at Cedric. You left your 10-year-old son alone holding a vase over my unconscious body. Cedric paused. He probably wouldn't have hit hard enough to kill you. What a comforting household. The system wheezed with laughter. Host, your husband has the emotional warmth of expired yogurt. Cedric frowned slightly. You're acting strange. I died yesterday. You had a panic attack. Same feeling. Cedric stared at him for a long moment before turning away. I'll return late tonight. Do your children even know your face? The alpha stopped walking. A dangerous silence settled inside the room. The system screamed. Host. Host. That wasn't in the script. But Cedric only said quietly, they're not children anymore. Then he left. Elliot rubbed his face. This family needs therapy. This world doesn't have therapy. That explains everything. Breakfast was worse. 3 children sat silently at a massive dining table. Aiden, the eldest, watched him like a suspicious wolf. Lucas, the middle child, openly looked ready to bite someone. And tiny Lily sat quietly clutching her spoon with both hands. The servants trembled around them. Elliot remembered the novel. Aiden would become a terrifying political manipulator. Lucas would dominate the underworld. Lily would grow into a poison expert infamous across the continent. And all 3 would die horribly after obsessing over the original protagonist. The system popped up again. Reminder, emotional neglect builds excellent villains. Elliot stared at the children. Lily's sleeves were uneven. Lucas had bruised knuckles. Aiden looked exhausted. Your father really sucks, Elliot muttered. What? Lucas snapped. Nothing. A servant suddenly spilled tea beside Lily. The little girl flinched so violently the cup shattered from her hands. The servant immediately panicked. I am sorry. Young miss, please forgive. Lily lowered her head, like she expected punishment. Something ugly twisted inside Elliot's chest. He slammed his hand against the table. Why are you apologizing? Everyone froze. The servant looked horrified. Elliot pointed at the broken glass. Lily dropped it. Lily cleans it. The little girl stared at him with wide eyes. The servants looked shocked. The system gasped dramatically. Cruelty detected. Responsibility trauma route activated. Dark point +3. Elliot blinked. That counted. Host, you made a rich child clean something herself. That's aristocratic emotional damage. Lily slowly climbed down from her chair. I clean it. Yes. Elliot crossed his arms. You break things. You fix things. The little girl carefully picked up the cloth. Her hands shook at first, then steadied. Aiden quietly watched the entire thing. Lucas frowned, and for the first time, nobody looked terrified. The system suddenly spoke again. Warning. What now? Your parenting accidentally improved her self-confidence. I'm trying to be evil. You are failing in an incredibly concerning way. Over the next few weeks, Elliot committed many acts of cruelty. When Lucas punched another child at school, Elliot dragged him back to apologize personally. Violence without purpose is stupidity, Elliot snapped. Lucas glared at him the entire carriage ride home. 3 days later, Lucas stopped picking random fights. Dark point +5. When Aiden stayed awake studying until dawn, Elliot coldly confiscated his books. You look like a corpse. Sleep. Aiden stared at him in disbelief. No adult had ever told him to rest before. Dark point +4. When Lily refused to eat vegetables, Elliot declared she would remain at the table until she finished. She cried dramatically. Elliot nearly surrendered after 5 minutes. The system shouted, Stay strong, host. Villains require nutrition. An hour later, Lily proudly ate everything, then waddled over and hugged Elliot's leg. Elliot froze. Release me. No. The system began cackling. Congratulations. Your victim loves you. Elliot looked genuinely miserable. Unfortunately, things only got worse. One rainy night, Cedric returned home early. He walked into the dining room and stopped. His children were laughing. Actually laughing. Lucas was arguing loudly. Lily sat in Elliot's lap stealing shrimp from his plate. And Aiden, emotionally constipated little Aiden, was smiling. Cedric stared silently. Elliot noticed him first. Immediately, he shoved Lily off his lap. Stop clinging. Lily stumbled. Cedric moved instantly. The alpha caught her before she hit the floor. The entire room went silent. Because Cedric Hartwell had never reacted that fast for anyone. Not even himself. Lily blinked up at him. Cedric looked strangely unsettled. Like he'd just realized something important. Then his eyes slowly lifted toward Elliot. Elliot suddenly felt nervous. The system whispered ominously. Host. What? Your husband is starting to look at you like a problem he wants to keep forever. Elliot immediately stood up. Terrible. I hate this family. Good night. And fled upstairs. Cedric watched him go for a very long time. That night, the system floated beside Elliot's bed. Question. What? Why are you trying so hard? Elliot stared at the ceiling. The mansion felt quieter at night. Lonelier. Because he swallowed. Nobody protected those kids in the original story. The system became silent. They became monsters because every adult failed them. A long pause. Then the system softly said, You know they'll still become villains, right? Elliot closed his eyes. Then I'll at least make sure they become villains who survive. And somewhere downstairs, 3 children who were supposed to hate him sat awake thinking about their stepmother. While Cedric Hartwell stood alone in his office, staring at untouched paperwork. Because for the first time in years, home no longer felt empty. The first official rumor about Lucian Hartwell spread 2 months later. The Omega forced the young masters to apologize publicly. The Omega made the young miss carry her own school bag. The Omega banned desserts after midnight. High society was horrified. Cedric read the gossip paper during breakfast. You banned cake. Elliot sipped tea. I'm cultivating discipline. Lucas looked betrayed. You're evil, he muttered. The system nearly exploded from happiness. He said the thing. Elliot tried not to smile. Correct. Lily tugged his sleeve. Can villains still have strawberry tarts? No. Cruel. Cedric quietly watched the interaction. The children spoke more around Elliot. Ate more. Slept more. Even the servants had stopped trembling constantly. It made no sense. Lucian was harsher than before. Yet the mansion somehow felt warmer. Cedric didn't understand it. That irritated him. A week later, Elliot attended the Children's Academy evaluation, which was unfortunate, because the original Lucian hated public appearances involving the children, and because Elliot discovered rich parents in this world were unbearable. Oh dear, one Omega laughed softly. I heard the Hartwell children still struggle socially. Another added, trauma after losing their mother is understandable. Lucas immediately clenched his fists. Aiden's expression went blank. Lily lowered her head. Elliot felt his irritation spike. The system sensed danger. Host. Remember. Villain persona. Oh, absolutely, Elliot said smoothly. The other parents brightened. Yes, exactly. That's why they're already outperforming your children academically despite their trauma. Silence. Lucas choked. Aiden looked stunned. Lily's eyes sparkled. The Omega parent stiffened. Excuse me? Elliot smiled coldly. I simply mean that children with disadvantages achieving excellence are far more impressive than children handed everything. The system screamed. Host, that was elegant psychological violence. Dark point +10. Thank you, Elliot thought politely. The parents walked away offended. Lucas stared at him. You defended us. I insulted them. Don't misunderstand. But you defended us while insulting them. That was accidental. Aiden suddenly spoke quietly. You knew my test scores. Elliot froze. Obviously. No one else does. The eldest boy looked genuinely confused. Like he couldn't understand why anyone would care. Something in Elliot's chest hurt again. He hated that feeling. That evening, the system appeared while Elliot reorganized Lily's medicine cabinet. You're getting attached. No, I'm not. You memorized the children's allergies. That's survival instinct. You tucked Lily into bed yesterday. She looked cold. You threatened a teacher for insulting Lucas. I was being villainous. The system stared silently. What? Elliot snapped. Host. Your definition of evil concerns me deeply. Before Elliot could answer, the door opened. Cedric stepped inside. The Alpha paused, seeing the medicine bottles. You checked Lily's prescriptions? She's taking the wrong dosage. Cedric's eyes sharpened. How do you know? I read the label. The previous doctor said this dosage was normal. Elliot held up the bottle. She's 7. This amount would sedate a horse. A terrifying silence filled the room. Cedric slowly took the bottle from him. The pressure from the Alpha's pheromones shifted. Cold. Dangerous. The system whispered. Oh, someone's about to die professionally. By morning, the doctor had disappeared from the Hartwell estate forever. And Cedric looked at Elliot differently after that. Carefully. Closely. Like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Then came the school fight. Lucas beat another student unconscious. The academy demanded punishment. Cedric arrived first. The room immediately froze. The Alpha's presence alone made adults nervous. Lucas sat silently in the office, bruised and bleeding. Cedric's expression darkened. What happened? He insulted Mother, Lucas muttered. The room fell quiet. Cedric turned slowly. The teacher coughed awkwardly. The other child mentioned Lord Lucian's reputation and... What exactly did he say? Cedric asked. Nobody answered. Because suddenly the air felt difficult to breathe in. Elliot arrived moments later. The second Lucas saw him, he stiffened. Like he expected disappointment. Elliot looked at the bruises. Then at the unconscious student. Then sighed. You lost control. Lucas lowered his head. But... Elliot crossed his arms. You chose someone larger than you. Everyone stared. You protected family reputation despite poor odds. Reckless, but not cowardly. Lucas blinked rapidly. Cedric slowly looked toward Elliot. The system was shrieking. Host. Host. You are raising mob bosses. Elliot ignored it. Next time, he continued coldly, win without getting caught. Lucas looked like he might cry from happiness, which was honestly terrifying. That night, Cedric entered Elliot's room without warning. You changed them. Elliot didn't look up from his book. No, I disciplined them. They smile now. That sounds inconvenient for you. Cedric stepped closer. Why are you doing this? Because nobody protected them before. Because Elliot knew exactly what loneliness looked like. Because somewhere between fake cruelty and accidental care, he'd started loving this broken family. But Lucian Hartwell would never say that. So Elliot only smirked. Maybe I'm training them into proper villains. Cedric stared at him for several seconds. Then unexpectedly laughed. Low. Quiet. Real. Elliot nearly dropped his book. The system screamed louder than a fire alarm. Critical warning. The male lead is developing feelings. Cedric stepped closer until Elliot could smell cedarwood pheromones surrounding him. You're strange lately, the alpha murmured. Elliot's pulse skipped. Dangerous. Very dangerous. Because Cedric Hartwell was finally paying attention. And Elliot had the terrible feeling he would not survive that attention intact. The first time Lily called Elliot Mama, the entire mansion stopped breathing. The little girl said it casually, half asleep, curled against Elliot during a thunderstorm. Mama, she mumbled softly. Scary. Elliot froze. The system froze. Even the rain outside felt quieter. Then Lucas dropped his spoon. Aiden looked up sharply. And Cedric, standing near the doorway, went completely still. Lily blinked awake slowly. Realized what she said. Her tiny face turned white. I am sorry. Eat your soup, Elliot said immediately. The little girl stared. You'll catch a cold. You're not angry? Elliot forced himself to stay cold. Why would I care what you call me? Lily burst into tears, which was apparently the wrong answer. The system whispered dramatically. Host, you emotionally adopted her. I did not. She literally imprinted on you. That sounds illegal. Cedric watched the entire thing silently. But later that night, Elliot noticed something strange. The Alpha had moved his office from the East Wing, closer to the family rooms, closer to Elliot. Winter arrived harshly, and with Winter came the original protagonist, Rowan Evernight, the beautiful Omega destined to attract every dangerous person in the novel, including Elliot's future villain children. The system immediately panicked. Plot alert. Plot alert. Rowan entered the ballroom during a noble gathering wearing silver silk and a calm smile. The room practically tilted toward him. Even Elliot had to admit the man was gorgeous. Then Rowan walked directly past everyone else and stopped in front of Elliot. Hello. Elliot blinked. Hello. Rowan stared at him quietly, like he was searching for something. The system began hyperventilating. No. Wrong target. Wrong target. I've heard many things about Lord Lucian, Rowan said softly. Most of them unpleasant, hopefully. Unexpectedly, Rowan laughed. Across the ballroom, Cedric's wine glass cracked. Aiden noticed immediately. Lucas looked murderous. Lily glared openly. The system whispered, Your family is becoming territorial. Elliot wanted to disappear. Unfortunately, things escalated. During dinner, a drunken noble loudly mocked Lucian's reputation. He trapped Lord Cedric through marriage and now plays house with children that aren't even his. The noble never finished speaking, because Aiden calmly poured boiling tea directly onto the table inches from the man's hand. Silence exploded across the room. The eldest boy smiled politely. My apologies, he said softly. My hand slipped. The noble went pale. Lucas cracked his knuckles. Lily stared without blinking. And Cedric? Cedric looked proud. The system sounded emotional. Oh my God, they're unionizing. Elliot immediately stood. That's enough. The children stiffened. Embarrassing behavior, Elliot snapped coldly. If you threaten someone, do it properly. The entire ballroom went silent. Cedric covered his mouth suspiciously, like he was hiding a smile. The system rolled across the floor laughing. Later that night, Cedric cornered Elliot on the balcony. Snow drifted silently around them. You protected them again. Elliot crossed his arms. I protected family dignity. Cedric stepped closer. You always say cruel things while doing kind ones. Elliot's heartbeat stumbled. Danger. This conversation felt dangerous. I don't know what you mean. Cedric reached out suddenly. His gloved fingers brushed snowflakes from Elliot's hair. Gentle. Far too gentle. The Alpha's voice lowered. What exactly are you pretending to be afraid of? Elliot forgot how to breathe. Because Cedric was looking at him like he already knew. Knew Lucian Hartwell was performing. Knew this cruelty was fake. The system screamed. Host. Abort mission. Elliot shoved Cedric backward. Don't touch me without permission. Cedric stared at him. Then slowly smiled. There you are. That smile was worse than the cold. Much worse. Because Elliot suddenly realized something horrifying. Cedric liked when he fought back. The car accident happened 3 years later. By then the children were older. Sharper. More dangerous. Exactly as the system wanted. Aiden controlled noble politics from the shadows. Lucas ran underground networks before adulthood. Lily could poison someone without leaving evidence. And all three loved Elliot with terrifying intensity. Cedric was worse. The Alpha had become openly possessive. Cold toward the world. Soft only toward Elliot. The system finally announced. Main mission complete. Elliot stood frozen. I can go home? Yes. He should have felt relieved. Instead, something painful settled in his chest. Because this world no longer felt fake. Neither did the family waiting for him at home. That evening, Lily hugged him tightly before school. Come back early. Lucas frowned. You promised dinner. Aiden quietly adjusted Elliot's scarf. Cedric kissed his forehead before leaving for work. Drive carefully. Elliot smiled despite himself. Then the truck hit his car at the intersection. Metal screamed. Glass exploded. And Elliot's last thought before darkness swallowed him was simple. I never said goodbye properly. The funeral lasted 3 days. Nobody cried publicly. That frightened everyone more. Cedric stood beside the coffin like a statue. Cold. Silent. Terrifying. Aiden handled political guests with mechanical calm. Lucas nearly killed 2 reporters. Lily poisoned someone for calling Elliot fortunate to marry well. The system watched everything in horror. Because this wasn't grief anymore. This was collapse. 1 month later, Cedric stopped attending government meetings. 2 months later, 3 noble families disappeared after criticizing Lucian. 3 months later, Lucas took over the criminal underworld completely. 6 months later, Aiden manipulated trade systems badly enough to crash entire regions. And Lily stopped smiling forever. The world began rotting around their grief. Wars started. Governments fell. Nobody could stop the Hartwell family anymore. Because they no longer cared whether the world survived them. The system finally broke down. This is why emotional attachment is bad. Meanwhile, Elliot was back in his original apartment. Alive, technically. But he couldn't sleep properly anymore. Couldn't eat. Couldn't stop thinking about whether Lily remembered her medicine schedule. Or if Lucas still skipped breakfast. Or whether Aiden was overworking himself again. Or if Cedric still slept alone in that enormous empty room. The apartment felt unbearably quiet. Then one night the system appeared again. Covered in digital flames. Good news. You look on fire. The world is dying. Elliot slowly lowered his coffee. What? Your family became psychologically catastrophic after your death. That sounds dramatic. The system opened a screen. Entire cities burned. Political riots. Collapsed governments. Cedric standing over a battlefield with dead eyes. Lily crying beside Elliot's old coat. Lucas covered in blood. Aiden staring at old family photographs like a ghost. Elliot's chest hurt. Badly. The system sighed. To stabilize the world, you need to return permanently. Elliot whispered quietly. Can I see them? The system paused. Then softened. You really love them, huh? Elliot laughed weakly. Yeah. The system groaned dramatically. Ugh. Character development. Then the world shattered around him. When Elliot opened his eyes again, he was standing in the Hartwell mansion. Everything looked darker. Empty. Broken. A servant spotted him first. The tray in their hands crashed onto the floor. Lord Lucian. Screaming erupted through the mansion. Footsteps thundered. And suddenly Cedric was there. The Alpha stopped several feet away. Like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. His eyes were bloodshot. His hands shook. Elliot's chest tightened painfully. Cedric. The Alpha crossed the room instantly. He grabbed Elliot so tightly it hurt, like he was afraid letting go would make him disappear again. You died, Cedric whispered. His voice broke. The terrifying Cedric Hartwell was trembling. Elliot wrapped his arms around him automatically. Sorry. That single word destroyed the room. Cedric buried his face against Elliot's neck and quietly fell apart. The children arrived seconds later. Lucas reached Elliot first, then stopped abruptly, like he didn't know whether touching him would make this illusion disappear. Aiden looked pale. Lily burst into tears immediately. Elliot opened his arms. That was all it took. All three crashed into him at once. The force nearly knocked him over. Lucas was openly crying. Aiden hid his face against Elliot's shoulder. Lily clung to him desperately, and Cedric refused to let go from behind. The system sniffled dramatically. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Elliot laughed through tears. For the first time since Transmigration, he stopped pretending. I missed you too. Silence. Then all three children froze, slowly looking up, because Elliot had never said something like that before. Lucas's lips trembled. Aiden closed his eyes. Lily started crying harder. Cedric kissed the side of Elliot's head quietly, like he couldn't help himself. Life afterward became strange, because the Hartwell family no longer bothered pretending to be normal. Lucas threatened anyone who looked at Elliot too long. Aiden reorganized political schedules around family dinners. Lily slept in Elliot's room whenever thunderstorms appeared. And Cedric became unbearable. You're late, Elliot complained one evening. Cedric calmly removed his gloves. I finished work early. It's midnight. I missed you. The children groaned in disgust. The system fake vomited. I preferred the war crimes. Elliot eventually learned the truth. The family had searched desperately for ways to resurrect him. Cedric destroyed nations. Lucas tortured information brokers. Aiden manipulated governments. Lily nearly poisoned herself trying experimental rituals. When Elliot discovered that last part, he exploded. You what? Lily looked guilty. Cedric quietly stepped backward. Even the terrifying Alpha knew better than interrupting an angry Omega. You could have died, Elliot shouted. I already felt dead, Lily whispered. The room fell silent. Elliot's anger shattered instantly, because none of them had recovered. Not really. He walked forward slowly and hugged her tightly. I'm here now, he whispered. Lily started sobbing. Lucas looked away sharply. Aiden covered his eyes. Cedric closed the distance immediately, wrapping all of them together. A broken family. A terrifying family. But finally, a complete one. The truth came out during dinner. Cedric noticed Elliot talking to someone invisible again. Who are you speaking to? The Alpha asked quietly. Elliot froze. Across the table, the children immediately looked nervous. Especially Lily. You're not sick again, right? She whispered. That was enough to break him. So Elliot told them everything. About dying in another world. About waking up inside Lucian Hartwell's body. About the system. The mission. The future where the children became villains and died. And how he was forced to act like a cruel stepmother so they could survive. Silence filled the room after he finished. Lucas looked furious. Aiden looked shaken. Lily was already crying. Cedric only stared at him with dark, unreadable eyes. Then suddenly, a glowing blue screen popped into existence above the dinner table. Well, this is awkward. The entire family froze. The system floated proudly in the air with tiny glitch effects. Hello, emotionally unstable people. I'm the system. Lucas almost flipped the table. Lily screamed. Aiden looked genuinely horrified for the first time in years. Cedric slowly stood up. Can I kill it? Host, your husband is threatening me. Elliot buried his face in his hands. You can all see it now? Yep. Since the truth is out, visibility restrictions are removed. The system spun happily in the air. Congratulations. We are officially a found family trope now. I hate this thing, Lucas muttered. Rude. I raised you too. Even Aiden laughed at that. And somehow, for the first time, the truth no longer felt heavy anymore. Months later, the system appeared one last time. Final confirmation. Elliot looked up from where he sat surrounded by paperwork, children, and one extremely clingy alpha. What now? You may still choose to leave this world permanently. The room immediately became silent. Cedric's expression changed first. Cold fear. The children froze. Elliot stared at them. At the family he accidentally built. The family he was supposed to ruin. Then he sighed. Why would I leave home? The system became quiet, then dramatically burst into fake tears. Ugh. Happy endings. My greatest weakness. Lily laughed. Lucas rolled his eyes. Aiden smiled softly. Cedric pulled Elliot closer and kissed his temple. Outside, snow fell quietly over the Hartwell estate. Warm lights glowed through the windows. And for the first time in a very long time, nobody inside that mansion felt alone anymore.